All right, I haven't looked at this in eons, but I thought this might have something in it that deals with a pretty technical, read this data and convert it into something useful, be able to parse content. So anyway, it might be helpful. The point is not so much the details, but maybe this is a process that you could use. So it looks like I'm pretty damn good at making a really big readme. It's kind of funny. Talks about, so I had to learn all about this this NEMSIS library or API, some kind of standard. So the next thing I looked at, this is a gem. So I built this code into a library, then the library is reusable. But if I look at parser spec, this is what I was talking about, starting small with your, I need to convert X to Y. I need to import from this database into that database. Starting small, like I want to create a parser or you want to create an importer. And, you know, here's just a dopey start. And I expect it to fail. So then it looks like I'm describing a little bit more here. And now this is kind of huge. Maybe I'll collapse the data. Describe basic API clarification, whatever the hell that means. So let XML string of this stuff. So if I parse the XML string, so this is like import. If I import that blob of data, what do I expect to happen? So that's kind of setting things up to say I expect all this stuff, right? So I expect the parser. So if we go to look at the parser code, the initializer, I'm not going to say this is the world's best code. Who knows? We'll see. But it's basically specifying how this is supposed to work. Right, so there's loading the YAML. Anyway, the point is more about even something as what you might think is hard to test. Even this, right? You can literally use this for any kind of data. I'll even pull up some more. So let me pause the recording here. So this is another crazy, I guess, higher level acceptance test. So I used Cucumber here to do HL7 messages. And HL7 messages are, well, you can also see I did the NEMSIS message in the HL7. So they are essentially, odd looking things to import and export. They look like this HL7 string here. And you can see that even as strange as it sounds, I can create data on the fly that has, in this particular case, looks like given I have the following HL7 messages, I can assert and basically put in there certain elements of the message. So this is like if you need to import SQL, you don't actually need a database to test your import mechanism. You can have an intermediary, either JSON, I think was might what you're doing, text, anything, and then you can prove that you give me this hunk of text. So here's the properties I think I'm trying to set up in a given message. Given I have that message with that information in there, looks like I run through a bunch of weird shit. But the idea is, pardon my language there. The idea is that you can kind of do some crazy things even with features. So let's see what else I have regarding. What else do we have for EMS encounters? Just for fun. Here's a crazy one. Yeah, so that's basically creating records to import, right? So you can see I'm setting up data, and if I go look at, uh, I guess something might be goofed up in my project here, but somewhere in the following run sheets exists. Oh, is it defined anywhere? Oh, that's weird. It must require having a sub project or something goofy. But anyway, the idea is, this is what I'm talking about. Even though you're trying to do some really low level migration or import, translate from database version 1 to database version 2, it's the same kind of deal. You can literally set up your data and then assert, run certain things when I log in and see that kind of data. What else do we have here? Let's see, what else? Anything good? Yeah, there's some of those NEMSIS messages that would be used in the library under covers. So I guess the idea is you can be as creative as necessary to kind of go from, these are normally, well, like these, for example, are actually exercising the user interface, right? So Cucumber, as an example, is typically used for acceptance tests, but I'm clever enough to say, you know what? It's really awesome. It can parse tables with stuff in it, and I can put those tables into weird messages, pump those messages through the system, and assert that I should see stuff. So I know my parser is working. I know my import is working, right? So it's just a really handy way to be able to create that record. In this case, it's a NEMSIS message, some goofy XML thing. But nonetheless, that the idea is where I'm going, is to try to help you to see how you can essentially sneak up on the answer by creating specs, unit tests, prove different things work, different variants in how you import stuff, right? And you can define data right here. So you don't need to run with a database. You don't need to run with it. You just need to know, I'm going to get this kind of a message stream out, and I need to import it and turn it into something else. And in between, you've got classes, right? You have things that you can control and test. You can write low level code because you've got tests that are saying, it needs to do X, it needs to do Y, right? It needs to, whatever it is. So anyway, I'll share this video with you and see if that helps. But hopefully we can talk at some point.